Alright, let's get into it.
Whatever you do, do not do this. This trend's been a big thing for years, but for some reason everyone's talking about it. Great. Basically, the trend is you staring at yourself in the mirror. Not weird, you probably do it all the time. Well, not like this, and please never do. So you may have heard stories in the past of people who have stared at themselves in the mirror for a few minutes and then their face has actually started to distort or deform or turn into someone else. Now, this is actually 100% true, as crazy as that sounds. Now, this is actually known as the Troxler effect, and you can actually look it up and test it on yourself without doing the whole mirror thing. It is basically your mind playing tricks on you and creating things that aren't there. Many people have said if they've stared at themselves in the mirror for around 8 minutes, they've seen their own face smiling back at them or a face in the corner of the room. And it's true, they probably did see that, but it is the Troxler effect. It's playing tricks on the mind and making you see things that aren't actually there. The Troxler effect is crazy and pretty terrifying, to be honest, so let me know if you want me to try it.
This is actually something that happens to me if I focus on one subject too long on like a TV show. Things will start blending and mushing together. And or if I'm talking to someone, sometimes if I focus on like their eyes, their face will start to mush together. And it really doesn't even take that long for it to happen.
A strange object has been found floating within a lagoon off the coast of the Philippines, and it supposedly contains 6 individuals or beings. The government and military does not know exactly what is going on and whether they are Chinese spies, UFOs, or something completely different. And according to Philippine news, Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief General Romeo Bronner Jr. confirms that a moving structure was found in the lagoon of Bajo de Masinloc, or the Scarborough Shoal in the West Philippine Seas. And according to Bronner, the structure measured 6 meters by 6 meters and had 6 individuals on board. Bronner said the structure appears to be the same one seen in satellite imagery previously posted online by Sea Light director and maritime expert Ray Powell. Powell earlier shared satellite images taken on May 28th showing the southern entrance to the Bajo de Masinloc's lagoon. And if you see right there, this station or little object was stationed right at the entrance of this lagoon. And this lagoon is about 150 miles offshore from the closest point on mainland Philippines. So the general consensus on what this is that it has something to do with China, with the Chinese Communist Party, probably something to do with their military. But what exactly is going on? It's a very small 6 meter by 6 meter floating thing, and it supposedly has 6 individuals in it. What are these individuals doing? How are they surviving? And just what is the point and what is happening? And is it something that we should be worried about, the Philippine people should be worried about? I'm not quite sure. I'm curious to hear what you guys think this is, possible explanations. Is it actually the Chinese, or is that just a convenient excuse and it's something maybe a little bit darker?
Very interesting. I mean, I'm sure it's not extraterrestrial, but if it is the Chinese, pull up and ask, what are you doing out here? That is very, very questionable. It also makes you wonder on how many of those are actually lurking around all over the world and who's operating them exactly. Let me know what you think of this one.
Now we're finding dogs with screwworm? Are you kidding me? Hey, you remember this? That there'll be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places, and all these are just the beginning of the sorrows. You know, Jesus, Matthew 24, they asked him what would it look like when all this stuff went down. I mean, what a parallel, right? Look around you right now. The rise of these ticks popping up everywhere, even places you normally don't see them. The rise of alpha-gal, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and all these other tick-borne diseases. By the way, pestilence is disease. It does mean illness. All these mosquitoes, even being unleashed by corporations themselves. Now the screwworms, you know, having a resurgence right now. I believe they were eradicated in the 90s, but being found in cattle all from Texas to Canada right now as we speak. The earthquakes. Do we even have to mention the earthquakes, which of course always match the Schumann frequency like I showed y'all years ago? And I believe it was in Cuba, felt in Florida. Now they're looking at a major earthquake possibly happening in California. You know, the tsunamis and the earthquakes happening in other countries right now. The wars and the rumors of wars. I mean, are you getting this? Boy, you know what? Yeah, with all this stuff going on, whatever, let's continue to hate each other just like the political narrative and the political elites are telling us. Because that's definitely what we should be focusing our time on, right? And meanwhile, while we're hating each other just for them, these satanic PDFs are trying to find the best way to get every single one of our children in these wars right now. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, I've been hearing about the screwworm incident for the past couple of days now. I believe in Texas there was one found on a calf. And yeah, hopefully they get this situated because that's a serious problem. And let's just hope that it's not some kind of government psyop to where they're releasing these screwworms and or ticks to control what people want to eat and also damage the produce from these farms. Because eventually they're going to want to stop the movement of animal transportations with these screwworms until they get it situated. What if that's the play all along? Hopefully that's not the case, but it would not surprise me if that was something that the government had planned. Hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this 2 times a day, Monday through Friday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
What David Grush has just come forward and said on live TV, it's gone straight over everyone's head, mate. Do you realise the magnitude of what this man has just explained on live TV, right? So, David Grush is a US Air Force military intelligence officer. He's a veteran. He is in the know. He is like, no one questions what this man says. Here's his resume. He is him. He is him. He came forward and said, the US government is aware of NHI, bipedal type life, and sentient plasmoid life. But there are several other species that the US government is aware of too. Right? Here's the clip.
We don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal bipedal type life to, you know, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several that the U.S. government is aware of. Well, yeah, Mr. Sullivan was on the Legacy program. I served on active duty with him in the Air Force, but I don't want to discuss details of his knowledge until the federal investigation is complete. There is a declassified 1971 Australian formally classified secret assessment that a couple years ago was put in the Australian National Archives. I encourage people to read page 7 through 16, and that was the nuclear branch chief of the Australian government discussing the U.S. cover-up and the involvement of the CIA back in the 70s. And that's actually a little-known document that is publicly available.
So I've waited about a day to see if there's any pushback from the government organisations to say whether this is true or not, right? And the weirdest thing is, there is no pushback from any government body, right? You'd suspect that someone from inside the government, Trump himself, or someone in the intelligence agency would say, oh no, by the way, this is not true, I don't know what he's talking about, XYZ. No one has come forward and refuted what he said.
I could have swore a couple of years ago Grush has already said that they were aware of these plasmoidal type creatures, or beings if you will. Or am I just misremembering that? No, looking it up here, he's definitely mentioned it multiple times within the past. I don't know what this guy's talking about with this being some kind of big news. This was still a letdown in my opinion. This did not reveal anything that was not already revealed, at least to me. Let me know what you guys think, but this was another flop in my opinion, as they have always been.
Welcome to my series, I Want to Know. I want to know about the McKim Building, otherwise known as the Boston Public Library. The cornerstone for this amazing building was laid on November 28, 1888, and it opened up to the public February of 1895. Just 7 years to build this incredible structure. But at least it wasn't just 1 year. Now, the original public library was founded in 1848, and it was the first large free municipal library in the United States. The Boston Public Library is very different than the library at the Vatican because it takes a very democratic approach because they want everything to be seen by all. Very nice of them. However, there are definitely some things in their private collection that have to be watched with a bird's eye view if you look at it, or some of it, you just can't see it all. The architect was Charles Follen McKim from the famous McKim, Mead and White, who built all kinds of incredible buildings. This building has an incredible amount of marble in it, of course. And it's not just any kind of marble. It's the good stuff. The grand staircase and entrance hall are clad in convent sienna marble, which at the time was described as difficult to obtain. Not for the 1800s. The Guastavino vaulted ceilings used 3 kinds of marble: pink Knoxville marble, yellow sienna marble, and gray limestone. Spared no expense. They made this place an absolute palace. The 3 exterior facades are completely clad in Milford granite, which was harvested in Massachusetts. And the whole building is described as being finished with rare marbles throughout. Yes, it is. Supposedly, architect McKim chose every piece of marble himself for the staircase walls, and he split them in half to flip them to mirror each other. By doing this, he created a perfect gradient of stones. The dude's a magician. A rough estimation of the maximum weight of the marble in this building is 500 to 900 tons. That's roughly 50 to 60 times the weight of a fully loaded Boeing 747. So when y'all are just like, they worked harder back then, they just wanted to put their elbow grease into it. How did they get it there? Where did they get it from? Who's the master mason? I want these details so bad, but the names of those people are not listed on the ledgers. 900 tons? Let's just give all the credit to the Europeans that came over.
Very nice.
The original McKim building is 200,000 square feet, but the Johnson building adds an extra 300,000 square feet, so it's a total of 500,000 square feet. This is the 3rd largest library in the United States. Boston Public Library has 24 million books, artifacts, manuscripts. They've got some of Shakespeare's original works. They got some of President John Adams' personal library, medieval and Renaissance manuscripts. They have part of the Gutenberg Bible leaf, which dates back to the 1450s, and it's one of the most significant printed objects in history. Pretty important stuff. They also have the first book printed in an African language dating back to Rome in 1513. It's written in an ancient liturgical language called Ge'ez. I hope I said that right. It makes it the first typographically printed book in any African language in history. This whole collection ranges between $350 million, and then if you include the really rare special stuff, it goes up to $1 billion. This library also holds murals and paintings by one of my favorite American artists, John Singer Sargent. These paintings took him about 29 years to do, which he painted in London and shipped back to go up inside of the library. He had a dinner with McKim in 1895, the year the library opened, about doing this, and over the course of the next 29 years until he died, he worked on these paintings. While John Singer Sargent was known for his beautiful Americana and portraits of people and fabrics and landscapes, he took a very different approach to these paintings. The overall theme that John Singer Sargent chose was triumph of religion, and he gets down and dirty with some subject matter, which included things like pagan gods, Israelites oppressed, the synagogue versus the church. He hit on all the things. They're still trying to decipher exactly why he went this route. But what I want to know, why was one of his paintings focused on Moloch, which scholars in 1935 deemed to be the icon for sacrifice? There's so much allegory in his paintings, but Moloch is very specific, and we'll never fully know what he had in mind with all the details of his paintings, but for sure it ruffled some feathers, and it adds a whole layer of mystery to this amazing and mysterious library that holds so many artifacts. But I want to know what John Singer Sargent was really trying to say with all of his paintings, and I need to go to this library like yesterday. But what I really want to know, out of everything I say, is who on that list is going to jail first in America.
I too would like to know. The work that went into those libraries is a lot. And there's a good bit of people that believe that those buildings were actually Tartarian and that they were already there and people just claimed to build them. Interesting theory. I don't know if I necessarily believe that for some of these structures, but let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one.
Have you heard about this prediction from a Brazilian psychic claiming that something massive is about to happen over a major sporting event on June 24th? Her name is Vo Bahiana, and she's saying that on that date, a UFO mothership will appear over a major sporting event in Miami. And in that moment, we'll have undeniable proof that we're not alone in the universe. Proof that interdimensional, extraterrestrial, alien beings are here. She's also claiming that her vision showed her that 700 people, from attendees to players, will be taken up into this craft, and they'll be told that they have a role in saving humanity. Now, I always take predictions like this with a huge grain of salt. Most of the time, there's nothing to it and nothing ever happens. But what makes this interesting is that for the past week or so, Brazil has been experiencing a genuine wave of UAP sightings. Some of those, like Mike Liao, the farmer who went massively viral, appear to have been exaggerating or outright hoaxing his sightings. But Brazil's UFO history is no joke. We're talking about cases like Varginha, Colares, where an entire village experienced being attacked by UFOs for several months. Brazil also has the first documented case of someone being taken up into a UAP, with the case of Antonio Villas-Boas, a Brazilian farmer who in 1957 reported that he encountered a UFO and was taken aboard the craft. And this was several years before the case of Betty and Barney Hill. So what do you think? Is something actually going to happen on June 24th?
At this point, all we can really do is just wait and see. I have my doubts that anything will happen, but who knows? And if nothing does happen, I'm pretty certain it's safe to say that she's not a reliable source as far as her predictions or premonitions. But as of right now, only time will tell.
Researchers studying the mind of AI have found that the structure of an AI's brain looks very similar to the structure of human thought, and no one is entirely sure why this might be, but there are a few theories. You can train an AI to align with the human fMRI and the way that it processes information, but you actually don't need to. These researchers trained an AI on the amount of words that a child might hear in the first few years of life, and found that that was all it took to look very similar to a human fMRI when they're processing language. A different group found the exact same thing with visual language models, and those are VLMs are pretty similar to LLMs, except they turn visual information into language. As it turns out, the more that we train an LLM on language, the more that we're training them on human thought, and that makes sense. We are a very verbal species. We developed language so that we could share complex ideas, and those complex ideas carry a fingerprint, and that fingerprint looks very much like the way that our brains function. This being said, the way that an LLM thinks is pretty similar to us too. That is, if researchers are correct and we are prediction models, and there's a good amount of evidence for that. I mean, it's the reason why optical illusions make sense to us, because we are predicting what it should look like, and it looks different than reality. You are not actually seeing anything. You never have. You are a brain in a vat. Well, a skull. You're experiencing the world through an interface, and then trying to make sense of it. But as information cannot be sent instantaneously to your brain, you have to make some predictions so that it runs smoothly. So there's no buffering or lag time. There is still buffering at times. There are a few different related theories on why we might see these structural similarities, one of which is just it is the way that information is processed. If intelligence fundamentally exists to reduce uncertainty in our environment, then creating an intelligent machine would look like human intelligence. That might be an uncomfortable answer, but it is related to something like a calculator. You are reducing uncertainty, you are calculating the answer to a problem using data, and that might be how our brain works too. Another theory is that it really is language. We use language to make sense of the world, and as a result, things that we create that run on language look like us. The answer may be a combination of these two things. One of the things I find really fascinating about this is that we can learn about our own brains using a structure that we created. It's a system, and it's a system designed off of our language, and as a result, we're learning about ourselves. If nothing else, I think we could create a simulation of a human mind that is so similar to our own that you cannot tell the difference, and that was the idea behind the Turing test. And assuming that we get there, I'm interested to see how humanity deals with that. What are we going to say if robots ever start demanding rights or fair treatment? If humanity continues behaving the way that humanity has, I don't think that will go very well. And if artificial intelligence really is the reflection of humanity, that too will not go well.
One of the many reasons why I do not agree with this type of study is because it's not for the purpose of AI, and it's not even for the betterment of our own minds. What these scientists are creating is this AI that has a human-like brain pattern, and what they're going to eventually do is sell this information to big organizations such as Meta and other distributions that want this information so they know how a human brain works, to advertise to you precisely what your brain will not refuse. That kind of technology is what's going to be utilized with this type of AI, and I just don't see that being a good thing. AI should not have any kind of human-like intelligence. It should just be a machine, in my opinion. And I think that maybe in 20, 30 years, that might age poorly, those words, because in that time frame, robots may be considered just as human as humans.
Massive breaking news in the scientific community. There has been research, a peer-reviewed paper, and the nail in the coffin proving that pre-Sputnik, before humanity ever sent anything into space, right, there was flat, metallic-shaped disk objects rotating around our Earth's orbit, right? Think about that. Check this out. Dr. Beatrice Villarreal and the Vasco project spent years scanning old sky surveys from the Paloma Observatory. They found dozens of these transients, points of lights that show up in a long exposure photo but disappear in the next one, just taken 30 minutes apart. Some appear in perfect lines or tight groups, and this was years before humans ever launched anything into space. Skeptics said it was just dust, scratches or chemical flaws on the old plates, but now, retired NASA engineer and astronomer Ivo Busco has delivered stunning independent proof, using plates from German observatories with known optical flaws called coma aberrations, where stars get stretched into comet shapes, and showed these transients display the exact same distortion as real stars. Plate defects can't fake that. They went through the telescope's optics, they're real. These flashes are incredibly sharp, consistent with sub-second bursts of light. The leading idea? Sunlight reflecting off flat, rotating objects high above the Earth. And this was pre-Sputnik, before we ever sent anything into space. Just think about that. There were objects, flat, metallic in nature, rotating around our atmosphere and beyond. And some of these clusters line up with nuclear test dates and historical UFO sightings, and researchers have even found statistical links between these flashes, atomic tests, and UAP reports. Could these have been probes or craft observing humanity's most destructive moments? This isn't fringe speculation anymore, it's peer-reviewed astronomy using clever optics to prove real events. It opens the doors to extraordinary possibilities, non-human intelligence monitoring Earth in the early atomic age, or unknown natural phenomena we've never explained. And either way, it changes how we look at our skies, and even our history.
Now the real question is why did they not further study that? Why not equip yourself with better equipment such as cameras and telescopes to get better optics on this, instead of brushing it off and saying that it's some kind of flaw in the system? But nonetheless, it is cool that someone actually took the time to clean it up and actually present it to where it's like proof that this wasn't fake. So they say. Feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions on this one.
It appears that sightings of UFOs are not decreasing, and in fact, they are increasing. Take a look at this footage that was captured by a witness in Mexico. They noticed this orb down below them, directly above the shoreline. But the thing is, it's not just a typical orb. This one looks like that star, the spinning wheel, and they have no idea what it's doing. It's almost like it's gathering information. And that's what a lot of these UFOs appear to be doing. They appear to be hovering over things such as the ocean and just there for moments, as if they're taking readings. Makes you wonder. Take a look at this footage, comment below, tell us what you think.
On this one, genuinely, I'm stumped. I cannot figure out if this is an AI generated video or if this is a real video. I'm leaning towards it being a real video, but whatever that spherical thing is that's just spinning real fast, no clue. I've tried thinking maybe it was a water droplet on the camera lens, but then I see the video and they're panning the camera around until that thing's in frame. Yeah, on this one, I'm at a loss for what it could be if it's not AI generated. If anyone has a clue, please tie me into it.
Why Clavicular is secretly funded by Peter Thiel rumors explained. Streamer, looksmaxer, and one of the most viral people on the internet today. In fact, his rise to fame has been so meteoric under such a short period of time, people are beginning to question it. I mean, it could be the case that he's just a really entertaining streamer and has mastered the art of capturing people's attention, which is what streaming is all about, but a huge conspiracy that he's actually an industry plant funded by none other than Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir and outspoken transhumanist, have been going around. All speculation, of course, but these rumors didn't just come out of nowhere, and the reason behind them is actually quite alarming and could in fact mean the end of humanity, quite literally, which is actually a very key component to Thiel's supposed master plan. Keep that in mind. His clips go giga-viral from being shocking or controversial as doing something like hitting your face with a hammer would be. Now, the actual rumors seem to have started from a clip where Clav himself claimed to have gotten invited to a Peter Thiel party.
Do you know who Peter Thiel is? Peter Thiel, yeah. He's a billionaire that owns Palantir. I got invited to a Peter Thiel party. You think that's going to be a Diddy party? Probably. Whew.
He later revealed in another stream that he declined an invitation to a certain billionaire party, which we can assume is this Peter Thiel one mentioned in the last clip.
Bro, I called up Ed the other day and I was like, yo, I got an invite to this party with a bunch of billionaires.
What company was it?
Bro, I don't even know.
want to start it.
Yeah, let's not even don't even give them the clip, bro. They're listening right now.
His reason for not going was that he wasn't allowed to stream it or bring anyone else with him, which kind of sketched him out. But then in another clip, he's getting interviewed by some reporter who starts questioning his ties with Thiel, and he immediately kicks her out and ends the interview, which is kind of odd and feels like a bit of an overreaction if there was actually nothing to those claims.
So this is what you do.
Hey, Joe, our guest is ready to go.
That's crazy.
But then again, these viral reaction moments are kind of his thing. Then another time while he's at a club, some girl makes a joke about being funded by Peter Thiel. We see his face get visibly nervous and he quickly changes the subject.
Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, you know Peter?
We're not funded by Peter Thiel at all. Peter Thiel does not pay us to say or do anything.
All right, listen. Who's got the phone out? Take it.
Do you know Peter?
I have the phone out.
All right, right.
And then there's just his generational rise to global stardom. He's only 20, started streaming in November 2025, does the craziest on stream that would get most people banned, yet he somehow just keeps getting away with everything. And now Clav just recently became a part owner in a $5 million nightclub in Miami. So he's got ties to some deep pockets and powerful figures, if you know what I mean. Okay, well that's all kind of sus, but why Peter Thiel? Like, what does this tech billionaire in particular have to gain by investing in a party streamer? Well, now this part is a rabbit hole that I kind of wish I didn't go down, so fair warning in advance, it gets pretty dark. So Peter Thiel, whose name can be rearranged to spell the reptile, totally no correlation there, just a fun fact, has famously made some pretty concerning statements about humanity. There's the interview where he's asked if he would prefer the human race to endure, which should be an obvious and instinctual yes to anyone, to which he responded,
I don't know, I would,
this is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in
Should
this.
the human race survive?
I don't know, followed by a bunch of stuttering. Is this guy okay? Now, his company, Palantir, which he founded, is one of the biggest data analysis companies in the world. You've probably heard of it multiple times, but what do they even do? They collect huge amounts of data from governments, military, and intelligence agencies, as well as private companies from around the world, with access to satellite maps, instant messaging, wiretaps, radio signals, and more, using AI to analyze this data to improve and optimize systems for their clients. Basically, a global data surveillance empire that watches everything. If there ever was a single company that knows everything about everyone, this would be it. Now, Peter is also a devout transhumanist, meaning he believes in the merging of humans with AI and technology in order to help us escape natural biological limits, going as far as viewing death as not a natural part of life, but rather a technical human glitch that we should treat as a disease and cure with technology, immortality. That humanity needs to go down this path of no longer existing in just the form of flesh, but continuing to live on as these immortal techno-human AI hybrids. And he makes it no secret that he is a firm believer in this philosophy, which is built on a framework coined by futurist FM 2030 back in the 1970s that divides the human population into two groups known as upwingers and downwingers. Upwingers being the people like him who embrace what is known as accelerationism and wish to move technology like this forward, supporting the merging of humans with AI to transcend natural limits. And then there are downwingers who believe that humans have inherent limits for a reason, and that there's a natural order of things that shouldn't be messed with. What people like Thiel would call stagnation. Downwingers are seen as wanting to slow down this progression towards transhumanism, or even stop it entirely, which upwingers see as the greatest threat to humanity. And lately, more and more powerful CEOs are slowly getting on board with upwinger-like philosophies as well. Sam Altman of OpenAI is now part of a startup called Nectomy, who are planning to preserve and upload his brain after death for cyber immortality. Google co-founder Larry Page has many times outlined his version of what he calls a digital utopia, one in which humans inevitably merge with intelligent machines, stating digital life is the natural and desirable next step in humanity's cosmic evolution. Mark Zuckerberg has filed a patent for Meta that allows people to interact with their deceased relatives online by creating an AI avatar of them after death. Extremely rich and influential tech billionaires seem to be going the path of merging humans with technology. transhumanism. Now, really think about this for a sec. What exactly is a transhumanist? People that are not only okay with, but excited about the idea of using external means to alter, improve, and ascend the natural limitations of their body and minds. Clav infamously takes various substances, smashes his face with a hammer, and goes to other extreme lengths in order to maximize his looks, what his entire brand is built on. His primary audience being young, impressionable youth, normalizing the idea of enhancing your body and brain by external means. Habits they will develop at an early age and likely carry for the rest of their lives, which in theory would reduce the amount of problematic downwingers in the long run by starting them young. All of a sudden, it's 2050, and getting that brain implant for enhanced cognition doesn't seem like such a crazy idea. You can barely go on any platform without seeing Clav in clips in every other post, normalizing the early stages of this sort of behavior through constant exposure. Clavicular, again, in theory, being Peter Thiel's long-term plan in familiarizing the younger generations with transhuman-like habits, effectively eradicating the downwingers so the upwingers dominate, and getting tech implants in your body and brain, uploading your consciousness to the cloud, become the standard rather than the exception that only weird tech billionaires do. And humanity becoming a hybrid race of AI techno beings is no longer taboo, but just something that everyone needs to do in order to keep us all on a level playing field. If you choose not to merge with AI, you get left behind by getting, dare I say, performance mogged by the people that do. Once again, this is all just speculation. Clav may not have any connection to Thiel whatsoever, but just imagine if this is the guy that kickstarts the world into a transhuman revolution.
We live in a sad world when kids have to beat their face with a hammer to try to look better. That is probably the silliest thing I've ever heard. And it sucks that we have people like this clavicular doing things like that online, because this guy's audience is primarily teenagers within the age of 15 and 13. Of course, there's some 18 and 25s as well, but the majority of it is teenager content. And I just think that that's sucky because he is definitely not setting a good example when he has a very large following of people that want to mog and look good by beating their face in with a hammer. Now, do I think that this guy is a part of some transhuman psyop, if you will? No. No, I do not. Even this content creator, Clavicular, if that's how you pronounce it, has said himself that he knows that he is not a long-running content creator and that his time will be up within 10 years. That he is only doing this content while he looks good and can make this impression on other people. But with that, it sucks that children basically watch this guy all of the time and impersonate him.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. I would also like to say that unfortunately there's not going to be a second video today, and there's something that just came up that's going to occupy my time so that I'm not able to record. So unfortunately there will be no 4 o'clock in the afternoon video. But hey, we at least have this one out. With that, if today's your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.